I'm going to be walking you through the 7 steps I took to close a $7,000 copywriting deal without sending a single piece of outreach, without jumping on a single sales call. All right, but before we jump into this, why the hell should you listen to me? Great question. Not only have I worked with huge YouTubers like Sumner and Ali, Sebastian Giorgio, but I've worked with huge names in the info space. This here is Fight Gecko, as you can see, he's there with Andrew Tate's cousin. But these are just the ones you'd recognize, right? The bigger companies I've worked with, you probably wouldn't even know their names, but they're multiple 7, 8 figure companies. Okay. Now I've doubled my revenue every single year, in my copywriting business. I haven't had to do outreach in 8 months, and I've made my clients millions across multiple niches. All right. I'm not just one of those biz up guys. I've worked in the dating niche, I've worked in the health space, and obviously I have worked in biz up as well. But start straight into this, all right? Because obviously you just want to know how to close $7,000 deals as well. And no one wants to do outreach, right? So here's the thinking behind this. We don't want to have any unpaid tasks, all right? You want to get paid for every single time you open your laptop. Otherwise, what's the point, right? We don't want to be prospecting. We don't want to be outreaching, auditing businesses, sending a bunch of outreach just to get no replies, jumping on sales calls that might not even convert. We want to remove all of that, right? We want maximum pay for minimum work. And this is exactly how I do that, right? Here's the overview, the 7 steps. I want you to get over the old way, right? I want you to stop forcing the old way, because there's a newer, easier, and much more lucrative way to close massive copywriting deals. And there's thousands of clients out there waiting for you to literally land in their inbox. In fact, we don't even need to land in their inbox. They're going to come to us, right? So the first thing is finding opportunities without competition. Next is standing out in any application, because while there may not be that much competition, you still have to get noticed. You still have to be the one that they're magnetically attracted to. Next is closing without convincing. You've probably been on those sales calls where it feels like you're both just going against each other. It's a battle of who's going to win, this framing battle. Like, I don't like closing deals like that. I like closing without convincing, because a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. And if you're having to convince someone to do a deal with you, then you're probably not going to see month 2 of that retainer, and it's probably not going to turn into any more future business, which means you will have to carry on in that feast and famine cycle, always doing unpaid tasks like outreach. So we want to remove that from the get-go, right? And how we do that is also the secret's onboarding the right way and always delivering unforgettable results. Okay, so at the end of this, I'm going to show you how to upsell and retain any client that you work with. And if you stick around to the end, like I said, I'm going to give you the key to magnetically attract new business using all the things that we're talking about here. So let's get straight into it. How do you find opportunities without competition? Now, if you're seeing this Facebook logo, you're probably thinking, yeah, Morgan, there's a bunch of competition there. And you're right, if you're doing it like everyone else, which means if you're not positioning yourself as a premium authority in the space, if you're not showcasing your skills, and if you're looking in the same places as everyone, then yeah, okay, it is full of competition. But if you are positioning yourself correctly, if you are a premium authority, and if you're looking in the secret groups and job boards that pretty much no one knows about, or at least they're not looking in them in the right way, then I can promise you there's not a lot of competition. Even if you see 100 applicants on a certain job board, 99% of them are crap and they don't understand how to apply properly. Okay, so don't do what everyone else does and join the secret groups that are full of clients, because like I said, there's an untapped market full of clients waiting for you to hit them up, but most are doing it in the wrong way. All right, so after that, it's just how to stand out in any application. Now, a lot of this is in the positioning. A lot of this is in what happens before the application. So if you haven't been personal branding, if you haven't been building yourself up and showing your skills and showcasing your skills and, positioning yourself as an authority, showing how people can trust you, then you can't apply to these premium gigs and stand out, because you just look like every other third world profile on Facebook. All right. We want to do the opposite of all that. Now, that is in the positioning, that is in the showcasing of the skills, but it's also in the sales assets you build for yourself. You are a business. So stop focusing on just the client's business, and we need to build the sales assets that are going to grow your business as well. One of those being a copy CV. Now, I've given you a little snapshot of mine there, obviously a gorgeous picture of me surfing, but it just shows I'm human, or it's got my experience, and on here it has a breakdown of my clients, my previous experience, my skills, and why I can help any business. All right. So if you haven't got things like this selling for you, like a personal brand, like a CV, or like any sort of other assets you can leverage, then you need to get them made straight away, because you do them once and they sell for you forever. Whereas if you're constantly doing outreach and not getting paid for it, you can see how that's a trade that you don't really want to make. So the next part of standing out in any application is your sales assets need to sell your expertise for you, because I don't know if you can see this, but I actually closed this deal while the client was traveling in Thailand for 2 weeks and while I was sick. Now, most of you will know that if you say you get a reply on your outreach, if you don't jump on that call pretty much straight away, that lead goes cold and you've lost them forever. And that's because most copywriters are relying on these crappy tactics, trying to trick people into deals, Whereas my sales asset made this guy still want to work with me after 2 weeks of not talking. Yeah, that's a huge difference in framing. That's a huge difference in positioning. And when I come into that business, I can ask for premium rates and he's willing to pay them. Whereas if you haven't got this stuff like selling for you, they're not as willing to sort of give you those premium rates. They're probably the clients that don't respect your time, don't respect your energy, aren't letting you be creative. They're always micromanaging you. So you need to set this up from the beginning to start from with the right foot leading forward. All right, so after this, it's closed without convincing. How did I get over not needing a sales call? Because a sales call, essentially, they're just looking for conviction, they're looking for assurance, and they're looking for that risk reversal, right? So the way I framed myself in the application process was a partner over a client. So I assumed we were already working with each other and gave him a huge breakdown of how I was going to like conquer that. All right, now he said as well, look, can we do this 50-50? Because like I said, that risk reversal was a huge part of the sales call. They're looking to see if you're the right person. They're looking to see if they can trust you. All right. So if you can give them that risk reversal without wasting your time and jumping on a sales call, things like offering a 50-50 split payment, 50% at the beginning, 50% at the end, then that's great. And I know a lot of copywriters don't like that, but it's like, bro, if you were working a normal job, you'd do 30 days before getting paid. So still getting 50% up front and 50% upon completion, like that's great. You could do that work in a couple of days and get your second 50%. It's only the lazy copywriters that don't like that, and I stick by that. So how do you onboard someone the right way? Now, if you're not giving people progress reports, you're not a professional. Okay. And that assurance and that conviction and that side that the client is looking for, you're not giving them, so they are always going to have to micromanage you. They are always on your case, chasing you up for stuff. Whereas my clients, they understand what I'm doing now, what I'm doing next week, when they can expect stuff. They've got full visibility and transparency on the project without having to email me, message me, text me, get me on a call. All right. So as you can see here, by laying this stuff out, I'm giving them a clear roadmap of what to expect, and I'm showing them how the project's going to happen, how it's going to work, and giving them timeframes when they can expect it. Because remember, they're taking a gamble on you. So we want to just combat that buyer's remorse straight away by removing all possibilities of you not being a professional. All right. Now, this is a great way of doing that. Every client that I've ever given this to has absolutely loved it. So don't sleep on that. Now, the next thing is how to always deliver unforgettable results. Now, this is more for your sake as well as the clients, okay? Because if like results equal retention, results equal leverage, and results equal growth, okay? So if you get good results for people and you get good results for an A player, well, A players hang around with A players. So if you get good results for that person, guess what? When he tells his mates, when he tells his other entrepreneurial friends, they're going to want to work with you too. So here's the process that I personally use to make sure that I'm always delivering great results. And it starts with like a fulfillment chart with a flow. All right. So, I map out their funnel so I can see where this specific piece of copy fits in the bigger picture. I understand the full picture. Okay. I take out their current thing, I write out the most optimal way of doing it. Like I break down everything from a zoomed out picture, and I let the client have visibility on this as well. So they can see, oh, he's not just an email guy. He's not just an ads guy. He understands the full funnel and the full picture. And that's a huge part of like being able to leverage your skills and position yourself for future business. If you don't do this, they're just going to pigeonhole you and put you in this little box, keep you as that little copywriter, the email guy, the ads guy, the socials guy, and you're never going to be able to expand into doing bigger projects. So make sure you map this out for clients, show them what you're working on, show them what you're thinking, show them why you're better than every other copywriter, because I guarantee other copywriters aren't doing this. They're too lazy. All right. The next is the research. I did additional research, added it onto this same Canva board and gave him access, made sure his marketing team had this, and that was just the, things we needed for that project. I then went above and beyond as well. And again, going above and beyond and over delivering doesn't have to be crazy. You can literally use ChatGPT to slap together some resources as long as they're actually helpful, right? So he didn't have a summary for the sort of the webinar we were promoting here. So I gave him a summary. So if any other marketer comes on, it's clear, they've got all this, the like sales points, they've got all of the unique mechanism and all the stuff they may need to do any marketing for it. They've got that in a quick doc rather than having to watch an hour webinar. Next was just like extra audience research because they weren't even really sure who they were talking to, and just like a pitch deck. So again, what claims you can make, what you can say, what you can't say, like all of this stuff, especially in 2025 with the FTC sniffing around everyone. This stuff is super, super important. And if you're not doing that, it takes 5 to 10 minutes to get ChatGPT to slap up some extra PDFs for you, and it goes a long way. All right. So make sure you're doing these extra things, going above and beyond to, one, deliver great results for yourself, but two, deliver great results for the clients. They want to talk about you, tell their friends, and it's going to magnetically attract new business without you having to do all those unpaid tasks. Okay. The next thing is how to upsell and retain any client you work with. Now, a lot of this comes from the things we just spoke about. Okay, if you position yourself as an authority, if you show that you're not just the email guy, the ads guy, the whatever, if you actually onboard them in the right way, you make them feel safe, secure, but actually listening to them and delivering results in a way that they deem as successful, because everyone sees success differently. All right, so you need to find out what the client's idea of success is and mirror and model the results in that way. So if they want, impact, then give them impact. If they want conversions, numbers, and revenue, then give them conversions, numbers, and revenue. All right, but it's also about not adding to their to-do list. All right, making sure you're the sort of freelancer that's taking headaches away rather than adding headaches. Okay, we don't want to be that person that's demanding, that's coming in asking for a bunch of stuff. We want to be that like almost marketing wizard with a crystal ball that can predict the future, see their problems before they happen, and always come with a solution. Now, as you can see, when you do this correct, they're the ones that want to ask you for future projects. They're the ones that want to get you in their Slack, because once you're in their Slack, it's like there's that saying, never let a salesman in the door, because once they're in, you're going to get sold. It's the same with us. Don't let us in the Slack. Once we're in there, it's like we can always upsell. You've always got a way to, find a new problem and solve it. Now, a lot of people are going to hear that and think of that in a negative way. But as long as you can help someone, as long as you can actually solve a problem, as long as you can add more value, then there's always an upsell path. Okay, because every solution creates a new problem. And if you can be, like I said, that marketing wizard with the magic ball, with a crystal ball, predicting what that next problem is going to be, while also delivering great results, being a professional and being a great person in the team, then they're going to want to keep you around. Okay, so as you can see here, look, it's about over delivering. It's about the way I've managed the project. It's like you're a quick man. Everything you said makes 100% sense. You can see the level of detail you're putting in. Like all of that stuff is basically showing them and positioning myself as much better than anyone else in the market. Because you got to remember, like most like business owners' experience with copywriters is I pay some overpriced Stripe invoice and then they disappear for 2 weeks. Ghost, no communication, no advice, no help. They're just doing the surface level, trying to get paid. They only care about that transactional side of the cash. Whereas like when you actually care for your clients, then you can ditch all of that side of outreach, because like I said, one client will turn into two, two will turn into four, it just carries on like that. Right. So after you've actually upsold and retained them, the most important step, right, the secret step, is the leverage. Because what good is it just doing this once if you've got to then go back in that feast and famine cycle of finding new clients, finding new clients, finding new clients? It's pointless. So like I said, your CV, your sales assets, right, all of this stuff down here, like this is where this stuff becomes important. Any results, any nice things they said about you, any cool parts of the project that you want to share, you need to be turning into sales assets. So whether that's just a cool case study, whether that's asking for testimonials from them, whether that's asking for referrals from the client if they haven't given you them already, or it's like turning it into assets like this, right, where I'm showing you I'm now leveraging the work I've already done to help more people. Okay, so like you need to get creative with how you can leverage your work, because if you're only doing the bare minimum to get by, get that first Stripe invoice paid, then no wonder you're not seeing month 2 of retainers or allowing that one project to turn into future work. Okay, so leverage is everything, right? Over deliver and make sure you're taking pictures, you're getting screenshots, you're getting all the numbers, because that's going to be the thing that will magnetically attract new business. Outreach isn't. All right, so if you enjoyed this video and you want to know more about like the secret groups, or where exactly I'm finding these people on Facebook, Instagram, or how I'm positioning myself as an authority, then feel free to reach out down below. I actually offer a free strategy session for any copywriter that's just looking for a roadmap to find their place in this game. But make sure you subscribe. If you want to see how I position myself on Facebook, that's my main copywriting personal branding space. It's just Morgan Brett on Facebook. You'll see my gorgeous face and you can follow me there. But yeah, like I said, if you've enjoyed this, make sure you hit subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos like this where I'm just breaking down like the overview of a project, giving as much value as I can, removing the smoke and mirrors, and just trying to be as transparent as I can, because I've spent thousands on courses, mentors, coaches, just for them to still, hide stuff from me. So I want to give everything away. And like I said, remove all the smoke and mirrors and give you everything you've been looking for. So if you have enjoyed this, hit subscribe and look out for the next one.